Hi, everyone, and welcome into the Rochester Press Box. I'm Bill Pucko. Happy to be joined by Rob Schulz, RocSports.com. No, RocSportsNow.com website columnist.
Is that the problem? Because I've been going to RocSportsBadal.com and I can't find it anywhere.
So have I. You know, it's the same thing.
RocSportsNow.com is the place to be. Yes, thank
welcome.
you.
Sitting in for Tariq Spence
Thanks
this week.
for having me. Very excited
And
to be here.
a hockey jersey, USA hockey jersey with Pat Duffy.
Yeah, it's the World Juniors Tournament going on. The best hockey tournament of the year, the best junior hockey players from across the planet facing off against each other. Several Sabres prospects playing for countries other than the U.S. and Canada filling up the net this week.
Yeah, that we learned firsthand, right? You spent a lot of time up there when Buffalo hosted.
Oh my God, it was great every day. I went up every day. It was the greatest week of my life.
Very cool. Hey, this is sort of like your interview show. So 2022, what did it do for you? Like, what stands out for you, Rob?
The Bills have been awesome, of course. Everybody knows that. There's no secret there. I know I hit some things that you guys maybe don't see too much. NASCAR, very exciting finish at Martinsville. Ross Chastain, with an unbelievable win to pass Denny Hamlin to get in the playoffs, was probably the most amazing NASCAR moment of the year.
You have no idea how many people are going, whoa, somebody's talking NASCAR. So
A couple are.
Well, he's got the hair for it.
Thank you.
Yeah, you got it.
we'll go a little deeper.
With the NASCAR?
Yeah.
Just a great playoff season, very unpredictable, really set the stage for next year, which is kind of weird to talk about the playoffs, setting the stage for the next year when you're in the playoffs, which is like the end of the season, you know?
Like, who's the guy in NASCAR? Would you carry it now into the next year? Like, what's the storyline? What's propelling NASCAR these days?
So you and I have actually had a talk a while ago about not a lot of new names coming up in the sport, motorsport, and there's been a youth infusion as of late. So like this guy, Ross Chastain, I just mentioned, he drives for a team that's ran by Pitbull, the rapper, right? It's true. Everybody's got, I'm not making this up. All right. At the same time, Michael Jordan owns a team in there and, driven by the first most successful, black NASCAR driver we've seen in many years. And he actually won a race for the first time since way the heck back when. So these guys have a lot of promise coming up, getting a lot of eyes where they wouldn't see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We went through this, you and I have talked about recently about how soccer always seems to be, it's the next big thing because NASCAR was selling this for a long time and NASCAR looked like it was going to move into and become like the big five. And it didn't happen over the last decade. Why did that happen? Or why didn't it?
I don't know. I think it's getting...
It didn't, right? It didn't do it. It didn't take that final step.
I guess not.
Well, right?
I'm with you. I'm just as surprised as you are. I mean, when it comes to like a national recognition thing, NASCAR was everywhere 10 years ago, right? You had stars that were legitimate pop culture phenoms in Jeff Gordon and Dale Jr. and all that stuff. And then all of a sudden, for some reason, you're right, it kind of felt like it fell out of the public lexicon. And it is a very strange phenomenon.
I think it's going to come back, actually. And,
of course.
I got the hair for it, being a white dude, going to a NASCAR event. I went to 3 races this year, believe it or not. And the makeup of those races in the crowd is not just me. There's a lot of girls there. There's young women. There's, black, Hispanic, people who go. It's changed a whole lot. Especially like when you go to a Bills game, it's not just, all dudes drinking all the time. It's 40% women probably?
Yeah.
Okay.
2022 for you, Pat.
I think it kind of goes along with what I was saying, like in the youth movement in the 4 major sports, because it's been a long time where we've been relying on LeBron James and Tom Brady and Sidney Crosby and players like that, right? Where all of a sudden in the 4 major sports, you look at football, you have Mahomes and Josh Allen and Joe Burrow, taking the stage and pulling that stuff away. You look at the NBA where guys like John Morant and Jason Tatum are now becoming legitimate superstars, pulling the spotlight away from guys like LeBron James and all those Warriors teams and things like that. Even in the NHL, you got guys like Cale McCarr that are stepping up and becoming legitimate superstars, replacing guys like Sidney Crosby. I mean, Ovechkin's on a tear. He's scoring goals still like crazy. But, I mean, even guys like Jack Eichel and Connor McDavid have become somewhat, maybe afterthought is a little overstatement, but it's nice to know that we're not going to have to rely on these old faces for the next 15 years. And this infusion of youth is making the games, all 4 major sports, so much more exciting than it's been over the last 10, 15 years.
For me, I don't have to go back all that far. It's like, for me, it was the World Cup. And it was sort of a dichotomy. We mentioned that the Winter Olympics were this year. So I'm flipping through the year and like, oh my God, I wouldn't even have listed the Winter Olympics as having been held. But there's a World Cup and the Winter Olympics, 2 of the biggest sporting events on the planet, and one was an amazing success and the other was ignored.
Well, okay, you touch on that, but I think it has to do with going back 2 years to COVID messing everything up, because this year, as things started to become more normal again, all the things that were supposed to happen in the last 2 years just got jammed into the last 12 months, and it made for an unbelievable sports year. You're right, between the Olympics and the World Cup and full March Madness, we're back to full World Junior, an entire NFL, Major League Baseball, hockey, and basketball season where, COVID wasn't something we had to think about. It was amazing just the amount of high-level sports that were on a daily basis, and not just on Sundays at 1 o'clock, not just on Thursdays at 7, right? It was literally all day, every day sports. Amazing.
We're at the Rochester Press Box, and we're talking Buffalo Bills next. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us here on the Rochester Press Box. Rob Schulz sitting in for Tariq Spence, Pat Duffy, Bill Pucko. Buffalo Bills segment is brought to you by Ralph Honda for 3 generations and celebrating 50 years as New York's first and oldest Honda dealer. Visit Ralph Honda today. Find out how we do Honda right at ralphhonda.com. Pat, it seems I was trying to think 10 of the last 14 weeks or something like that. It's like every week the Bills play, it's the biggest game of the year.
Yeah.
This one is, and I was thinking about this, I don't think you can overstate the importance of finishing first in the AFC.
100%.
Because you're going to get the bye, and you're also going to avoid that 2-3 matchup,
Yes.
presumably in semifinals. If Buffalo holds the top spot, can beat Cincinnati this week, Kansas City and Cincinnati are going to have to play each other before they even think about Buffalo, and we'll have to go a path to the Super Bowl goes through the other 2 teams.
You're absolutely right. Having the opportunity to have the AFC Championship game at home is huge based on how you've played in the playoffs on the road. Sean McDermott, as great as he's been, has yet to win a road playoff game as the head coach of the Buffalo Bills. 2, you could use the rest, man. Look, you got guys coming off IR. There's word that Micah Hyde might be able to play in the playoffs all of a sudden, which would be absolutely amazing. That extra week helps him. But to your point, more importantly, let these other high-level teams beat each other up before they get to the divisional and the AFC Championship rounds, ideally that Buffalo will be in. It's huge. And not having Von Miller, the guy that you signed to be your closer in the playoffs, makes that 2-3 points that you get playing at home from the bookies even that much more important.
Josh Allen's taken a bit of a beating, saying, the MVP favorite at the beginning of the season and the intercepts and the turnovers. There are some ugly statistics associated with him, but he's still the guy, isn't he?
Yeah, he's great. He's a very exciting player. I saw something online where they were saying that Josh Allen was the most exciting player ever. You don't know if he's going to, run for, X amount of yards. He's going to throw his gigantic horse body into somebody. He's going to throw an interception. You're like, why did you do that? He's awesome. He's just an awesome guy to watch. A lot of fun.
No, but here's what I don't understand, and I don't mean to be Homer narrative guy, but as we're looking at the coverage
that's never happened.
As we're looking at the coverage leading up to this Bengals game, it's a lot of Josh Allen is regressing, Joe Burrow is a superstar.
Bengals are hot. Hot Bengals.
But if you look at the statistics between Josh Allen and Joe Burrow, they are unbelievably similar, even when it comes to turnovers. If I'm not mistaken, right now, Josh Allen has 1 more interception than Joe Burrow has right now. In fact, their numbers last week were eerily similar. Joe Burrow won AFC Player of the Week, and Josh Allen, what's going to happen? Could they make the playoffs? I don't understand why this is happening, and don't get me wrong, I love it. I love the Bills being an afterthought. I love no one expecting anything out of them. I just don't get why there's all this, Josh Allen can't do it when it matters, because, to your point, if Joe Burrow's passing game isn't on for a day, which we've seen happen, that team collapses. Josh Allen is dangerous in so many ways. He can win you a game 3 different ways. Why is there this anti-Josh narrative?
Yeah. The biggest reason I think Cincinnati was where they are and in a position to do what they're doing, another great statistic. They've had their offensive line together for 15 games this year. You can't substitute anything for that.
The Bengals are top 5 taking sacks this season, and they have a full 10 sacks more taken this season than the Buffalo Bills do, 11, and they've lost one of their offensive linemen for the season after last week. So put a pin in that statistic, and we'll talk about that next week, because that is a big deal for Greg Rousseau, AJ Epinesa, Ed Oliver, and Jordan Phillips, if you can go on Sunday.
Point made. Bills are a half-point favorite, and there's still the Vegas odds, favored odds, even in the stacked AFC, to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and they're looking great, if you ask me. I have season seats, as Pat does, and being there on the ground floor with them, I guess we're in the bleachers.
Yeah. In the bleacher ground floor.
Bleacher, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
The metaphorical ground floor. No, the experience at home is way different than the road, of course. And 1 seed locking that up would be awesome. And should be
Pick
great.
it.
The Bills win because of the defense, because of the versatility of the offense, because of the fact that the Bills have been there before, and I know that the Bengals made it to the Super Bowl last year. It came out of absolutely nowhere. The Bills have sustained success. They have a seasoned coaching staff. They have a seasoned roster full of players, and they have versatility on both sides of the ball. Not just 11 deep, like 14 to 15 deep on both sides of the ball. It's not going to be easy. The Bills win this game, and I think they're the number 1 seed when the season's over.
And with the exception of the Vikings, the Bills have beaten every single first-place team they played against.
Good stuff. Our Buffalo Bills segment, brought to you by Ralph Honda. Like it or not is next. Here's the Press Box Trivia question, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390.
Hey, hello again, Mike O'Brien, your getaway guy. Today's getaway, Boston's North End. It's great Boston food finds. I'll take you to my favorites. Look for The Getaway Guy on Facebook. The Getaway Guy on Facebook.
Here's the Press Box Trivia answer, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390. Roc Sports Now founder Joe Burrow is a wrestling fan, and he knew John Huber. Huber played hockey and lacrosse in McQuaid. He worked as a substitute teacher and librarian for the city school district, and seemingly ordinary Rochester life, except on the weekends. John Huber entered the square circle, performing as a professional wrestler. He was known as Brody Lee. Huber's career began like many do, with his cousin and his friends out in the backyard. Soon he was performing in front of crowds of paying customers. Eventually he traveled to work in Philadelphia, Toronto, Michigan, then overseas to places like Japan and Italy. John's life changed forever when World Wrestling Entertainment signed him to a contract in 2012. The WWE, the billion-dollar global company, rechristened John as Luke Harper, a member of the dreaded Wyatt family. John was featured on posters, t-shirts, even had action figures made for him. He was living the dream, but along the way, his dream changed. Married with 2 young boys, John's main goal became being the best father he could be. John passed away on December the 26th at the age of 41 after a short illness. Across the world, fans and fellow performers praised and remembered John, a great athlete, a tremendous performer, and most common among of all those attributes, a great father. He'd like that. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us here on the Rochester Press Box. Our Like It or Not segment is brought to you by Sport Clips, where the MVP experience is better than ever. Sport Clips, the pros in men's hair, no appointment needed. Stop by a Rochester location today. Pat, like it or not, the bowl game season.
Okay, here's the thing. I do not pay attention to college football like I should unless it's like a top 10 matchup. I love bowl season because there's always a game on starting at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and there's nothing else to do. Like last night, I think I watched East Carolina play Coastal Carolina. I watched the whole game. I can't tell you who played. And it ended up being a 30-point blowout, but still wildly entertaining.
And you had 5 teams from the MAC playing in these games.
But it's great here. You know what the best part is? Big old fat guys wearing like number 2 playing defensive line. Who does that? It's amazing. You look so much bigger as a fat guy wearing a single-digit number. Like if you're going to do it, wear 00.
Don't a lot of these games have to go away when they expand the playoffs to 12? I haven't seen about the future of this stuff, but who's going to watch those if you've got 12 games that matter?
Well, okay.
Or 12 teams that matter.
Well, here's why. Because at Wednesday on a 4 o'clock, when I've got nothing to do between Christmas and New Year's Day, which a lot of people don't, I want to see University of Buffalo take on Akron in a game that doesn't matter. One of them is going to get to 7-6, and for some reason they're carrying the coach off the field. You won 7 games in the MAC. Congratulations. It's great. It's electric. Come on. Gambling.
Robbie, like it or not, Christmas holiday, like the NBA's tried to own the Christmas holiday. Yeah. Well, this year the NFL stepped in. Who won?
Boy, did they ever. I think football. I mean, I watched more football this week than I have in previous weeks, for the sole fact that there was football 3 games on Saturday to watch. So I watched 8 games this week. That's a lot, okay? Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. And then Monday, you know, it was better than watching like fishing and car shows that we usually watch on Christmas Eve. But I had a great time watching all those games.
No, but he's right. I love NBA basketball. Love NBA Christmas Day basketball. I did not watch a minute of Christmas Day basketball because of the matchups that were happening with the NFL. It's almost mean of the NFL what they did on Christmas, but I loved it.
And big matchups,
it is
too.
such a thing. I mean, if the NFL steps in, it's over for who's ever there.
Yes, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Very good. Rob Schulz, thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks for having me.
RocSportsNow.com.
So exciting. So exciting to be here with you guys.
Joe Burrow's going to join us for Unfinished Business, which is next. Our Like It or Not segment is brought to you by Sport Clips, and Unfinished Business is next.
The Press Box Stat of the Week is being brought to you by McArdle's Restaurant in Fairport. Come home to McArdle's.
Came now to Eichel. He floated one.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us here on the Rochester Press Box. Our Unfinished Business is brought to you by the Genesee Brew House, your beer destination since 2012. Visit the gift shop, enjoy tasting at the Pilot Brewery, and dine at the pub-style restaurant at the Genesee Brew House. Pat, do it.
It's the end of an era for everybody under the age of 45. Eastbay, the sports company, announced that starting in 2023, they are discontinuing their at-home catalog. And if you're a sneaker and jersey junkie like I am, when you were a kid, you look forward every couple of months to that Eastbay catalog coming to your door. And you open it up and you looked at all the new sneakers that were coming. Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan, Penny Hardaway. And look at the jerseys that they're doing in the NFL this year. You can't buy the Bills because they only sold the most popular stuff. But that doesn't matter. I still want to look at all the pictures. Every single time that magazine showed up, I would spend 2 hours at my dining room table circling all the things I wanted. And here's a little confession. I'm 36 years old. I've never, ever bought anything out of the Eastbay catalog, which is probably why the Eastbay catalog's going away. But it didn't stop me from getting super excited when it was in the mailbox every single time. In fact, today, with the internet and all of the places I can go to get the stuff that I love, I still rip open that Eastbay catalog and go page by page looking at all the stuff every time it shows up. Gonna be honest, there's no reason for me to go to the mailbox anymore because all it is bills. No more Eastbay catalog. Eastbay catalog, you did a lot for me growing up. You made me into the obsessive sports equipment junkie that I am, and I owe you a debt of gratitude, and my wife hates you for my bank account being so empty.
The NFL last week struck gold, signing a new deal for NFL Sunday Ticket with YouTube for 7 years and $2 billion. That's $2 billion a year. Experts predict Google, YouTube's parent company, will need 2.3 million subscribers to break even. This may be the last of the big money streaming deals, as the streaming industry has had a rough 2022, and the bubble may be about to burst. After years of trying to lure sports to streaming, we saw a breakthrough this year. Apple TV had MLB on Friday nights. Peacock had a baseball game on Sunday, and Amazon secured the rights to Thursday Night Football. All is well, right? But the industry is now in cost-cutting mode. HBO Max, most publicly, has shelved tons of projects, taking a write-off rather than releasing them. Disney has brought back Bob Iger to shift the focus to theatrical releases and away from Disney+. In streaming, it's all about subscriber growth. It's essentially grow or die. In 2023, we might start seeing some streaming obituaries, and the major sports leagues may be the ones wondering what happened to their golden tickets.
Last week, Pat Duffy lamented the fact that Franco Harris had died a mere 3 days before having his number retired in a ceremony by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Duffy's point being, what took the team so long? Harris had retired 39 years earlier. His number 32 wasn't going anywhere, and he was, after all, 72 years old, which didn't sound particularly old to me. But Duffy explained, yeah, but he's a football player. The numbers are notoriously unscientific, and there are many variables, but it appears that the average lifespan of a professional football player is somewhere between 59 and 66. A coal miner might take that. He's fortunate to reach 50, but males in the general public in this country on the average live to 76. And once there, you're likely to get another 10 years. Past that, you're playing with house money. Anyway, it appears that there's a giveback of about 10 years for the privilege of playing professional football, and that's not accounting for the long-term pain and suffering. It's a pretty steep price to pay, and worth remembering every time you see a player go down injured and the cart comes out, and worth remembering when players miss multiple games with concussions, and your first concern is how it affects your fantasy team. NFL players are gladiators in a very true sense, and watching them perform is the ultimate guilty pleasure. That is Unfinished Business, brought to you by the Genesee Brewhouse. Our thanks to Joe Brott and to Rob Schulz for sitting in. 2023. Pat, looking forward to it?
I can't wait. How about it takes 2 men to replace Tariq when he's not here?
Point noted. Hey, thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you next week with the Rochester Press Box.